The outer colony of Eos Prime burned beneath a cold alien sky. Commander Lyra Voss stood on the command bridge of the Vanguard's Fury, her gaze fixed on the holo-display flashing urgent warnings. Fires raged across the city below. Homes, schools, playgrounds reduced to ash. But the hardest part wasn't the destruction. It was the screams. The desperate cries of children echoing through the comm channels, only half understood before the signal cut to static. The Tylarth had come without warning. Vessels like living nightmares, black and jagged, slicing through the stars. Their weapons didn't just kill, they hunted. The youngest, the most innocent, those who carried the future of humanity, were their prime targets. The reports were grim. Entire families vanished, leaving behind only silence. Lyra's hands clenched into fists. Her heart pounded with rage and helplessness, but she would not break. Not now. Commander, the fleet is assembling, but the Xylarth are moving too fast, her communications officer warned, voice tight with urgency. Lyra turned, eyes blazing. Then we fight smarter. We don't let them pick off our young. Her vow echoed silently through the bridge, a warrior's pledge made long ago, now the fire that fueled her every move. Elsewhere, in the twisting alleys of Eos Prime, terrified children huddled in the shadows, clutching one another. Among them was Kai, a boy no older than 10, his wide eyes filled with confusion and fear. He had heard stories of the Vanguard, the heroes who protected humanity. But now, he wondered if they would come in time. The ground trembled as another Tylarth pod landed nearby. Metal claws tore through concrete, hunting. Suddenly, a sharp burst of laser fire lit the darkness. Lyra's fleet, smaller but faster, launched a counterattack. Her flagship dove between asteroid fields, weaving through the void with fierce precision. Every strike was calculated, every decision weighted by the lives depending on her. Focus on disabling their targeting systems, Lyra ordered. We'll buy time for evacuation. A whispered voice inside her mind repeated the vow she made as a child to her fallen mentor. Never endanger humanity's young. But time was bleeding away. The battle outside Eos Prime was just the opening salvo. Across the stars, a storm gathered, one that would test humanity's courage, cunning, and heart. For Lyra Voss and her crew, the war was no longer just about survival. It was about protecting the fragile spark of hope cradled in every child's life. The stars watched silently as the shadow of war stretched across the galaxy. The warrior's pledge had been made. Now, it had to be kept. Far from the burning ruins of Eos Prime, a hidden world lay cloaked in shadow. Haven. Orbiting a quiet, unremarkable star, the planet was humanity's secret sanctuary, a cradle where the youngest survivors of the war might live untouched by the Xylarth's relentless hunt. Commander Lyra Voss stared at the flickering redouts aboard the Vanguard's Fury. The ancient cloaking array protecting Haven was failing, and every moment brought the enemy closer. Her voice was steady but cold. We cannot risk exposure. All ships maintain strict stealth protocols. On Haven's surface, the children moved cautiously through the labyrinthine tunnels beneath the verdant forests. They had been evacuated here months ago, carried across light years in hidden vessels. Now they waited, shielded by the planet's dense atmosphere, and the hopes of a galaxy it refused to surrender. Among them was Kai, the boy from Eos Prime. He had grown quieter, the nightmares of the attack etched deep in his eyes. But here, surrounded by others like him, he began to understand something new. Strength in unity. Lyra's comm crackled suddenly. Commander, scouts have detected Xylarth sensor drones on approach. Their numbers are small, but they are prodding our defenses. Lyra's jaw tightened. Then we make them think Haven is empty. Inside the sanctuary's control room, Lyra met with the leaders of the Children's Council, a group formed to keep order and hope alive. Among them was Nura, a fiercely intelligent teenager who had taken it upon herself to protect the younger ones. Her eyes, sharp and unyielding, met Lyra's. We can't keep hiding forever. Nira said quietly. "The children are scared. They're starting to fight among themselves." Lyra nodded. "I know. That's why we need to be ready, not just to survive, but to fight back." Suddenly, the planet shuddered. Sensors screamed. An orbital missile had slipped through the defenses, targeting the sanctuary's power core. "Damage control teams, move," Lyra ordered. "Nira, get the children to safety. This is a test. The real storm is coming." In the tunnels, whispers turned to cries as alarms blared. Children grabbed each other's hands, hurrying through the dim passages lined with ancient texts salvaged from Earth and other lost worlds. Kai stumbled but kept moving, determination hardening his young face. Outside, the Vanguard's fury raced through space, launching countermeasures against the incoming drones. Lyra's eyes burned with fierce resolve. The enemy had found them. But this sanctuary was more than just a hiding place. It was a promise. A promise that humanity's future, its children, would not be abandoned. As the first dark tendrils of war crept toward Haven's skies, Lyra made a silent vow. No enemy would touch the young. Not while she drew breath. The air inside the Vanguard's fury was thick with unease. Commander Lyra Voss paced the bridge, her mind racing. The Hylarth weren't just attacking. They were infiltrating. Reports of strange disappearances, unexplained system glitches, and whispers of sabotage gnawed at her. Her most trusted officer, Captain Jarek, approached quietly. "Commander, we've confirmed it. Shape-shifting Hylarth spies are aboard. They're hiding in plain sight." Lyra's gaze hardened. "Then we root them out. No one is above suspicion. Not even me." Meanwhile, beneath Haven's dense canopy, the children sensed the growing darkness. The sanctuary's halls echoed with distrust, shadows of fear spreading faster than the approaching warships. Nira stood before the council, trying to maintain order, but even her steady voice wavered. Kai sat apart, clutching a small worn pendant, a relic from his lost home on Eos Prime. The nightmares haunted him. Twisted alien faces, whispers probing his mind. The Hylarth didn't just want bodies. They wanted to break spirits, to weaponize innocence. In the sanctuary's nerve center, Lyra led a risky mission. She and a small team slipped out under the cover of night. Their goal, a suspected Hylarth control node hidden within an abandoned research outpost. Every step was measured, every breath a prayer. Suddenly, alarms screamed. An ambush. From the shadows, twisted forms emerged. Hylarth spies, their skin shifting, eyes cold and unblinking. The firefight was brutal. Lyra's training took over, but each shot fired was a reminder. The enemy was inside, wearing humanity's faces. Back at Haven, a child screamed, a psychic attack seizing their mind. Panic erupted. Nara's voice rose, firm and commanding. "Hold the line. We are not prey." Kay's pendant glowed faintly, a pulse of warmth spreading through his fingers. For a moment, the psychic grip loosened. Was it hope? Or something more? The Vanguard's Fury's sensors picked up a chilling message, encrypted in human code but twisted beyond comprehension. The Hylarth were using their own technology against them, turning human children into weapons of war. Lyra's heart clenched. She stared at the stars, fierce determination burning in her eyes. "This isn't just a battle for survival," she whispered. "It's a war for the soul of humanity." In the shadows, the Hylarth watched, calculating. But they had underestimated one thing. Humanity's greatest weapon was not their weapons or technology. It was their unbreakable will to protect their own. And Commander Lyra Voss would ensure they never broke. The sanctuary had never felt so fragile. Commander Lyra Voss paced the command center, the weight of betrayal pressing down on her chest. One of her own, a trusted human officer, had been exposed as a Hylarth collaborator. The revelation struck like a blade, cutting through the hard-won trust among the survivors. "Sabotage at the main power grid," the engineer reported breathlessly. "Systems are failing. Shields are down to 20%. Lyra clenched her fists. How long until repairs? Hours, if we're lucky. Outside, the sanctuary's tunnels echoed with raised voices. Fear had twisted into anger, and anger into division. The Children's Council fractured as factions formed, some demanding immediate retaliation, others urging caution. Nira struggled to hold the fragile peace. "You don't understand," a young rebel shouted during a heated meeting. "We're tired of hiding. We should fight them head-on." Kai stood at the edge, torn between fear and defiance. He looked to Nira for guidance, but even she seemed unsure. Lyra entered the chamber, her voice cutting through the chaos. "This isn't a time for division. Every fracture weakens us. We are one. If we fall apart, the Exilarth win." Her words struck a chord, but the damage was done. Whispers of distrust lingered like poison. That night, Lyra met with her closest officers in the war room. The collaborators' betrayal had more consequences than anyone feared. Vital intel had been leaked, and Exilarth's strike force was en route, larger and more brutal than before. "We can't wait for them to come to us," Lyra declared. "We take the fight to them." "But the children," Jarek protested. "The children must be protected," Lyra interrupted sharply. "That is the pledge. But if we don't cripple the enemy now, there won't be a tomorrow." In the shadows of the sanctuary, a small group of rebels led by the defiant youth prepared for an unauthorized strike. Their hope, to prove their strength and seize control. Kai watched them leave, a storm of doubt raging inside. Could reckless courage save them, or would it doom them all? Suddenly, the sanctuary's alarms screamed. The Exilarth attack was no longer a threat on the horizon. It was here. Explosions rocked the tunnels as the invaders breached the outer defenses. The children fought back with desperate courage, but confusion reigned. Lyra rallied her forces, her voice steady over the chaos. "We stand or fall together. Protect the young. Hold the line." In the heart of the battle, Kai faced a terrifying choice: follow the rebels into reckless war, or trust the warrior who vowed never to endanger humanity's young. The fracture had begun, but whether it would shatter them or forge something stronger remained to be seen. The once hidden sanctuary of Haven was now a fortress under siege. Outside, the black void of space shimmered with the looming silhouettes of Tylarth warships, their weapons humming with deadly intent. Inside, the air was thick with smoke, fear, and the unyielding resolve of those who refused to surrender. Commander Lyra Voss stood on the battered command bridge, eyes scanning the tactical holoscreens flickering with warnings. The Tylarth bombardment was relentless, tearing at the planet's fragile defenses. Shield generators faltered, power flickered, and vital supplies dwindled. "Commander," the lead engineer reported, voice grim, "we've lost half the power grid. If the core fails, the entire sanctuary goes dark." Lyra's jaw tightened. "We hold it. At all costs." In the tunnels below, the children of Haven transformed from frightened refugees into fierce defenders. Nira led squads armed with salvaged energy rifles and makeshift weapons, her voice steady and commanding. "We fight not just for survival," she told them, "but for the promise we made, to protect each other, to protect the future." Kai moved through the chaos like a shadow, adrenaline sharpening his senses. He was no longer the scared boy from Eos Prime. He was a symbol of what humanity refused to lose. When Exilarth's squadron broke through a weak point, Kai was among the first to respond, rallying the defenders in a desperate push to seal the breach. Yet the siege was more than physical. The psychological weight of betrayal, loss, and exhaustion gnawed at them all. Whispers of despair and surrender threatened to undermine the warriors' pledge that had held them together. Suddenly, sensors picked up incoming reinforcements, but not human. A small fleet of alien vessels, unknown and uninvited, slid into position between Haven and the Exilarth fleet. Lyra's heart raced. Were they friend or foe? Without hesitation, the new arrivals opened fire on the Tylarth. forcing them to scatter. Lyra recognized the emblem on the lead ship's hull, a species long thought extinct, rumored to be humanity's ancient allies. The battle intensified, hope flickering like a fragile flame. In the chaos, Lyra and Nira met briefly, their eyes speaking volumes. The children were fighting harder than ever, but victory remained uncertain. "We can't hold this forever," Lyra admitted. "We need something more, something desperate." As the Xylarth regrouped for another assault, a sudden explosion rocked the command bridge. A sabotage strike had breached the sanctuary's core systems once more. "Prepare for total blackout," the engineer warned. Lyra's voice was steel. "Then we fight in the dark. For the children. For humanity." The siege of Haven had become a crucible, and in its fire, warriors were forged, bound by a pledge that would never break. Darkness swallowed the sanctuary as the power core succumbed to sabotage. Emergency lights flickered weakly, casting long shadows over the battered halls of Haven. Commander Lyra Voss stood amid the chaos, her breath steady despite the turmoil. They had held the line, but only barely. "Damage control teams, report," she ordered. "Struggling, Commander. The core is unstable," the lead engineer replied. "If it goes, the entire planet's defense grid collapses." Lyra's eyes narrowed. They needed a new edge, something no one had yet considered. Deep beneath Haven's surface, an ancient structure lay buried, forgotten by most, but not by all. The ruins were remnants of a civilization older than humanity's colonies, rumored to house technologies beyond comprehension. It was a desperate gamble, but Lyra knew what must be done. She assembled a small team, including Nira and Kai. "This mission is dangerous," she warned. "We're stepping into the unknown, but it's our best hope." The descent was treacherous. The tunnels twisted into darkness, walls etched with alien glyphs that pulsed faintly in the dim light. As they ventured deeper, an eerie hum filled the air, a resonance that felt alive, as if the ruins themselves were awakening. In the heart of the ancient chamber, they found it. A dormant weapon system, vast and humming with dormant power. The control interface was inscrutable, alien symbols dancing across its surface. Yet somehow, Kai's pendant began to glow, resonating with the ancient tech. Nera's fingers flew across the console, piecing together fragments of the alien language. "This weapon," she said breathlessly, "it can project a shield over the entire planet, or unleash devastation on the enemy fleet. But it requires a sacrifice, a power source, one tied to the operator's life force." Lyra stared at the machine, the weight of the choice sinking in. To protect the children, someone would have to pay a terrible price. Outside, the distant rumble of Xylarth warships reminded them time was running out. Kai looked at Lyra, his eyes fierce despite his youth. "We can't wait for them to come to us. We have to act." Lyra nodded, steeling herself. "Then we ignite the past to save our future." As they prepared to activate the weapon, the ruins pulsed brighter, responding to their presence. Whispers of a long-forgotten war echoed through the chamber, and with it, the knowledge that the pledge to protect humanity's young was older and deeper than any of them had known. The past was not dead. It was the key to their survival. The ancient weapon hummed with raw power, its alien glow filling the chamber with a blinding light. Commander Lyra Voss stood at the control console, the heavy weight of the decision pressing down on her chest. Every fiber of her being screamed caution, but the lives of hundreds, the future of humanity's young, rested on her next move. "This is it," Nera said softly, her eyes locked on Lyra's. "Once activated, there's no turning back." Kai stepped forward, his hand still clutching the glowing pendant. "Whatever happens, we're with you." Lyra nodded, swallowing the fear that threatened to choke her. She placed her hands on the interface, feeling a surge of energy pulse through her veins, a connection that blurred the line between machine and soul. Outside, Haven trembled as the Xylarth fleet closed in, their weapons charging for a final, devastating strike. The sanctuary's last defenses flickered on the edge of collapse. "Now, Commander," Jarek's voice crackled through the comms. With a deep breath, Lyra activated the weapon. A wave of shimmering energy burst from the planet's core, enveloping Haven in an impenetrable shield. Xylarth weapons struck the barrier and shattered. Their fury turned to frustration. For a brief moment, hope flared across the sanctuary. But the weapon's cost was immediate and brutal. The energy siphoned from Lyra's life force, her body weakening visibly. Yet, her resolve burned brighter than ever. As the battle raged, the Xylarth launched a boarding assault, forcing Lyra to confront their commander face-to-face aboard the Vanguard's Fury. The alien was cold, calculating, a mirror to Lyra's fierce determination. "You cannot protect them forever," the Xylarth sneered. "Their innocence will be extinguished." Lyra met the challenge, steel in her voice. Humanity's strength lies in its hope, in its willingness to fight for its children. You will never break that. Blades clashed, each strike echoing with the fate of millions. The duel was brutal and raw, an unforgiving test of skill and will. In the end, it was not just strength but Lyra's unyielding spirit that drove the Xylarth back. Back on Haven, Nira rallied the children and defenders, guiding the evacuation through secret tunnels as the shield began to falter. Kai, now a symbol of hope and survival, led the youngest to safety, his fear replaced by fierce courage. As the sanctuary's shield flickered and the Xylarth withdrew, battered and beaten, Lyra collapsed, her breath shallow but triumphant. The warrior's pledge had been kept. For now.